Congressman?
Well, thank you very much. And Mayor, thanks for having us here. You've got a great community and one that you can be proud of. I want to thank all of you for being here today. We've had several of these already, and we've really had some good dialogue. And in fact, yesterday we had one where some of my friends, of course, I'm a Republican, we got Democrats, but some of my friends on the other side actually said, I think we agree with 70% of what you're saying, and I hope we can do the same thing today. But I am honored to be here. I appreciate you allowing me to serve the United States Congress. Some of you that know me know that I don't take myself very serious, but I take the job real serious. And so who am I? Well, I'm Roger Williams. I'm a Christian conservative, pro-life, Second Amendment, grassroots taxpayer, just like most of you in here. Pretty simple platform since 2012. Lower taxes, less government, cut the spending, defend the borders, listen to your generals, understand the 10th Amendment, and always stay with Israel. And we've never gotten out of that box since 2012, and it's worked pretty good for us. Make a lot of decisions in D.C., as you know, some more important than others, but we take all our decisions very seriously. And we try to make our decisions based on fairness, family values, limited government, strong defense, lower taxes, quality education, conservative judges. Those are kind of our decision points right there. Now, how do we get there? And I think it's important. I saw the other day in one of the news medias that I'd made over like 3,000 or 4,000 votes since I've been up there in 2012. That's a lot of votes. And so we try to keep it pretty simple on what those decisions are. And number one, we ask what's the Constitution say. I'm one of those that I say the Constitution is not living and breathing. It does not just move along. It is what it is, written by the Founding Fathers, and we say, what's the Constitution say? And that helps us get to what our decision is. Secondly, we listen to our district. We represent 800,000 people. And I know that everybody in this room didn't vote for me, but I represent all of you. And we listen to the district. And there's a few people out here I can see that you got a call from me at 7 in the morning or 7 at night saying, where are we on this? What should we do? And you advise me. So between the Constitution, listening to our district, and sticking with my conscience. See, I have found in almost 8 years now in D.C. that you make 2 votes in Congress and 2 votes only. You can make a vote to save your political future, or you can make a vote to save America's future. I've already had my career. This is not a new career for me. I'm trying to make those votes that actually will save America's future. And then lastly, and most importantly, on how do we vote and how do we get through all this, is I read the Bible every single day. And I will tell you that the Bible will tell you how to do this job. You know, where are you on taxes? Where are you on immigration? Where are you on loyalty? Where are you on all this stuff? And the Bible tells you this. So I can tell everybody in here, regardless of your party persuasion, that between the Constitution, listening to my district, asking questions, my conscience, and the Bible, I have not made one vote that I regret. And I hope to keep it that way. And it makes it easy for us and those that work every day up in D.C. So that's kind of where we are and so forth. Now, this is different territory for myself in the fact is I'm not in the majority. We are in the minority now as Republicans. And I have a lot of friends on the Republican side, I really do. And there's a lot more, whether people want to believe it or not, there's a lot more that both sides agree to than not. If sometimes we push what we don't agree with over here and then find out what we agree on, we can get some things done. And I plan on doing that. But you know, we're going to be focused on what I call some big boy issues. Now, I'm on financial services, is my committee. It's the A committee. It's an A committee that oversees the banks, the credit unions, the Fed, all this sort of thing. It's a big deal. It's a big committee to be on. And I was one of the vice chairs last year. This year, Maxine Waters is now our chairman of the Financial Services Committee, and she and I actually have some things in common. We've got some bills. I've got some bills I've proposed for banks and so forth that actually she likes, and we may get some of those passed through. I hope so. But I'll be on financial services, and I want to focus on what I call some big boy issues since we are in the minority, and that's going to be things like I want to continue to strengthen the military. I want to make sure that we do not increase regulations that put a burden on Main Street Americans, small business owners and moms and dads and so forth. Lets them breathe, lets them have opportunity. We want to focus on that. We've got 100,000 kids every year dropping out of school in Texas, just Texas. 100,000 kids dropping out of school in the 9th grade. And they're gone. We don't know where they go. And they've got to be dropping out of school because they are losing hope. And they should never lose hope in America, but certainly don't lose hope in Texas. And so we've got to focus on those 100,000 kids who are dropping out of school and see what we can do to let them know you don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to put a coat and tie on, you don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to be any of that stuff. You can be what we used to train to do when I was in school a long time ago, is the trades. You know, you can be a plumber, you can be a welder, you can be a carpenter, and you can have a great living, and you can hire people, and you can create a job and realize the American dream. And I really want to focus on that. That's important to me, is helping those kids. And that's not an argument on either side. That's something that we can, you know, that we can get done. The debt is a big deal to me. The debt, I believe, the debt, that's right. The debt is the largest problem we have in the country today, without a doubt. And I am one of about 40 on either side that fights this debt, that talks about debt. I have a business background. That's what I am. I'm a businessman. Okay? I know what debt can do to a balance sheet. I know what debt can do to a family. I know what debt can do to a business. And I know what debt is doing to America. And you talk to our military people, they'll tell you that's their biggest concern, is the debt. So we've got to fix this debt. And let me tell you, you can blame anybody you want for the debt, but the debt problem and the spending goes way back to a lot of people. We have more income coming in now than we've had in the history of our country, but it still doesn't take with the debt and the spending that we have. So we've got to focus on the debt and see what we can do about that. And then I'm going to continue to fight on this argument we have about socialism versus capitalism. This is not going to be a socialistic nation. I don't see it get out of the way. So we're going to be focused on these kind of things, trying to find common ground. I want to do that, and we'll see what we can come up with. So the other thing is, and then I'll be quiet, take your questions. The other thing I'm very much involved in, we have done a really poor job in Congress of protecting our kids and our teachers in schools, school safety. And I had a bill last year, bipartisan bill, that would go to would allow schools in Bee Cave, and not school districts, but individual schools, because each school is different, to see what their needs are to protect our kids, our greatest treasure, and our teachers, and allow them to apply for a grant through the Department of Education. The Department of Education has a $63 billion budget right now, and allows these schools to apply for grants for what they need. Maybe it's more security people, maybe it's certain glass or doors or whatever, but whatever keeps our kids safe and our teachers, and apply for a grant and allow the Department of Education to pay that and begin to secure these schools. I think it's important, and we're going to be focused on that too, because I don't know what more we can do now but try to defend our kids and our teachers, the most precious things we have. So that's kind of where we are, and I'm glad everybody came today, and I'll be glad to answer the questions, Mayor. And that's kind of what's ahead for me and what I want to do. Okay.
Well, several submitted questions, so we'll start with those. And we're wrapping up at 11, so if we're at a good pace and we can open it up to a question from the audience, we will every so often. First question: do you support President Trump's declaration of a border emergency?
No. I have been from day one. Now let me preface it by saying we have serious issues on the border. As many of you know, I was Secretary of State under Governor Perry, worked the border a lot. We have serious issues down here. But the reason that I have not been supportive of the declaration is because Congress has done a really poor job. We put the president, Congress, both sides of the aisle, put the president in this situation. Okay, but I don't support it from a selfish standpoint. Is that when we start drawing funds out of certain areas, one of which may be MILCOM, construction of the military bases. And we've got a lot of momentum going at Fort Hood right now. If one of the things I was able to accomplish was get $61 million diverted into Fort Hood so we could rebuild the barracks that literally were falling down, that were condemned, and our kids and many of them were sleeping on the ground. That should never happen. So we got barracks going up right now. We got money for motor pools. We got money for runways. All this stuff's happening at Fort Hood from a selfish standpoint, and I'd hate to see a lot of those dollars diverted from that. But I have not been a big proponent of the emergency declaration. We should have.
Right, excuse me.
Congress let people down by not taking an aggressive stance and coming up with a border security bill. So that's where I am on it.
Okay, thank you. If we have time for questions from the audience, we'll take them. Okay. Second question: what does immigration reform look like to you, and what changes would you make to the current system?
Well, immigration reform is important. I think there's several things we can do. I think we can make it easier for people to be citizens. It takes too long. I had a young man working for me when I was Secretary of State, and it took him 12 years to get through the path of citizenship. So I believe that we need to speed that process up. I think that we need to welcome people that want to come to America, realize the American dream in a legal way. This is a land of laws, and you can't come and break the law and expect to be realize the great things about this country. You need to come through the normal way. You need to come through the ports. You need to don't overstay visas. You need to do everything that's right and be legal, for heaven's sakes. And then America is a welcoming country, but we can't have you come break the law and expect to realize the benefits of. So, I think we can improve the size of the ports of entry. I think we can make them more accessible. When people start talking about giving certain people a pathway to citizenship, I don't think so. We already got a pathway to citizenship, and I think if you put people ahead of others, that creates even more of a problem for them. So let people come over here legally, realize the laws, realize the dream, and make it happen.
Okay. Next question. What is next for tax reform? Will we see any new legislation to help take the tax burden off of everyone?
Well, I was very much involved with our tax cuts bill, 2 years ago we had the highest tax rates in the world. I mean, everybody would come up to me on either side and say, what are we going to do about the jobs we're losing? What are we going to do about the people that we're losing?
We're going to be respectful.
That we're losing to other countries. Well, it's because we had the highest tax rates in the world. You couldn't start a business, you couldn't keep a business because the tax rates were onerous. And so we passed our tax cuts legislation, which shows that it's working. I mean, does anybody in their right mind in our lifetime ever thought that you'd see more jobs than people, than workers? You see, we're seeing jobs come back we lost. We're seeing jobs come over here we never had. So it's working. And I can tell you as a Main Street business person that employs people for 50 years, 50 years, it was getting really hard to do business and hire people. Now we're competing for workers, and we're seeing wages go up. You see, because we're competing for workers. So the Tax Cuts Act is working. Now, what's in store for it next? Well, the one thing I would like to see happen, which I'm not so sure would get done because we do have divided government now, is I think we need to make it permanent for one thing. That's one thing we need to do. And then the other thing we need to do is I think we could cut the capital gains tax and dividends tax back down to 15%. There's a lot of jobs out there, a lot of deals to be made if you begin to cut your taxes down to capital gains 15 and your dividends 15. So that's something that I would focus on. But frankly, with divided government, probably not going to get it done. But the main thing is tax cuts are working, and we're all being able to take advantage of that, and we're getting to spend more money, and it's working. The fact that people have jobs, unemployment's down to 3%.
Next question. I am appalled by the recent action in New York regarding abortion being legal at birth. What do you think the chances are that this will be addressed by Congress?
Well, I think it will be addressed. I'm personally a pro-life person, as I said. I do not fault people that are pro-choice. I mean, that's the debate that we have. I get it. But I think when we just recently saw what they're doing with the governor of Virginia, what he had to say as a doctor, what they can do in New York and the legislation they're passing, where they're actually killing babies that are out is a serious thing.
Okay, excuse me.
No,
and I think
there's something that falls, you have to stand
I think
up.
that there's nothing more precious. There's nothing more precious than a newborn and period.
Everybody thinks
Is this a dialogue?
Excuse me.
Is this a dialogue or is it not a dialogue?
So the debate on the life issue is going to go on,
You can
and I
leave
think
if you don't like it, please.
So that's not representative.
democracy.
let me just close this. I think we're all appalled at what we saw. And not ever going to agree on. That's just the way it is. That's politics. But the fact of the matter is, let's focus on what we agree on. I bet we all could begin to agree on infrastructure. We need our roads and bridges fixed. I mean, our roads and bridges are falling down, you see.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. I have a bipartisan bill in financial services right now going through with one of my colleagues, Charlie Crist. He was the former governor of Florida, good guy. We've got some issues on flood, for example, that we're doing. I've got a bill, I had a bill last year with Mark Vesey, who's the Democratic rep up in the Fort Worth area, okay? So let's find...
Congressman, it's so nice
to meet you today. I didn't vote for you, but I'm
You didn't
so
vote for
happy
me?
that you're here. I'm the daughter of a union pipe fitter. My father just passed away at the age of 84. And so I know the power of unions because I grew up as a young girl in Westlake Hills. My parents built a home in 1962. They bought their lot for $2,000. And when my father died, I experienced the power of the union and what they had done for him. And so I appreciate you talking about trades and how they can really help people because we had a solid middle class life. My question really though is about, I'm a social worker and I do lots of adoption work and I work with children. And I am very concerned about the children who have been separated from their family. I'm not talking about whether or not people are crossing legally or illegally.
Okay, I got you.
I just want to know your position on separating children from their parents in private paid facilities. That's my question.
Yeah.
Look, and I have, great question. I have 2 daughters and I have a granddaughter.
Yes.
My heart goes out to children, and I don't think we should be separating these people. I think it's not a good thing. The parents, I will quite frankly tell you, I think in many cases they made bad decisions to come up here and bring their kids here with the idea they may be separated. But I don't support that. Okay, and I just don't. I mean, I'm a family guy. I hate to see that. One of the biggest problems we got in our country today, I will tell you, I believe, is
policy where someone like Travis who had a heart for a child wanted to sponsor a child, they can't because they're not related to them.
well.
So that is a real solution to decrease the trauma on these children that are in your state.
I don't disagree with you, and that's something, an idea we can take back to Washington with us.
Please.
Sure, I have no problem.
You do.
I saw a video, or I'm pretty sure this is factual, but a small child, there is a child that I'm aware of, because someone contacted me, who needs a sponsor, and there's a family in Buda that wants to sponsor him. They're not.
I've said earlier, so I just think what we do from Texas to keep government overreach coming into Texas is that we need to, frankly, when we see something we don't like from the federal government, fight back. That's what I do. And we don't need Big Brother coming down and messing up with our Texas values. We really have Texas values in this state. People want to come here. Look at all the people that are coming to Texas because they want our quality of life and so forth. So there's nothing wrong to push back from federal government, okay? And I think that's the best way to do it. And you know, and surround yourself with people that agree that you know, our values are in many cases are an example for the federal government, not for us to follow the federal government's examples.
So will you
Wait,
support?
none from the audience, please. Next question.
Here we are.
We switched. You were asking from the audience a second ago, and now you're switching back.
Sir, yes, we're going to go back and forth. People
You didn't
submitted
say
questions.
that before, so you're throwing us off. That's why we're concerned.
That's what I was-
You have to
Well, thank you for
understand
your
what you're
concern.
doing. That's why we're
Thank you
asking
for your
about questions
concern.
of protocol. What
we'll
is the
be-
protocol?
Protocol is to show respect and not butt in, please.
Please respect.
Next
that.
question. How do you intend to continue promoting our strong economy?
Well,
Excuse me, wait. People who signed up for this meeting turned in the questions.
Can we
Okay?
ask-
So
Can person who's
your
associated
lack
with
of
the question stand up?
no one has to identify themselves, ma'am.
but let me just answer that real quick and we get going. Look, we have a strong economy in Texas. America's strong. We all understand that. 3% unemployment, more jobs than people. But our economy's been really good here for a long time, and how we're going to continue to promote our economy is to make sure Texans have jobs, Texans have good jobs, Texans have opportunities to own homes, to do the things they want to do and be with their family, and that's what we get back to, that capitalism, entrepreneurship environment. It lets people realize dreams, realizes opportunities, and take advantage of it and pass it on to their families. So that's kind of an easy sell.
Okay, now we'll open for a question. Sir, the one I just had the dialogue with.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Charles Hepner. I live in the Austin area. My concern is that you profess yourself to be very strongly Christian, yet you support an administration that is patently unchristian in their treatment of immigrants presently. Though you've said that you will, you don't agree with the separation of children at the border, you are supporting this administration. You keep doing it. How can you reconcile the unwelcoming of immigrants, documented or undocumented, with your Christian values? I mean, from the Pope to many priests and many different religious Christian groups are very supportive of immigrants. Why not you?
Well, I support immigrants and when it's done the legal way.
Okay, so that's the problem, right?
No, we have land, we have laws, and people need to adhere to the laws. And I think I'm very compassionate, and I think our country's compassionate. I mean, I don't really agree with what you're saying as far as, you know, I'm for the kids, I'm for compassion, I'm for treating them right, but we are a land of law, and you got to stick to the law.
So, for example,
Sir, but it's not a debate, okay? I mean, you asked your question and he answered it. Let's move on and give someone else a chance. Yes, ma'am.
asylum seeking is not against the law.
Thank you so much for taking the time to have a town hall with less than 24-hour notice. Point of information, it was legal to marry your first cousin before it was to marry someone of the same sex. But this is my question. I was born and raised on the border my entire life. I have lived less than a mile from Mexico, more time than I've actually spent time living in Austin. My question is, have you actually spent time on the U.S.-Mexico border longer than 12 hours in your tenure in U.S. Congress?
Yes.
Next question. About what percentage of American taxpayers benefited from the most recent tax reform passed in 2017? Was it only the 1%?
About 99% of the people benefited from the tax cuts, and we see it, and it works. I mean, it's hard to argue with the tax cuts. You know, you go back in history of our country, and you know, President Kennedy cut taxes. President Bush cut taxes. I mean, it works because when you put more money in the hands of the people, they consume, and it's a consumption-driven nation. So it does work. Look at the unemployment of 3%. I get back to, again, more jobs than workers. Competing for workers. We're seeing wages go up because businesses are competing for workers. And you know, there's a lot of dialogue about minimum wage, this and that. When you have tax cuts and you have an economy like we have, you compete for people. Minimum wage never comes into play. And there's a lot of people that want to tell young people that minimum wage is a career. Minimum wage is not a career.
You're right.
Okay, it's not a career. And we shouldn't have people thinking like that. So the tax cuts are working, wages are going up, and people are having more opportunity to get a better job and grow their family. It's just evident. There's no denial to that. And about 99% of the people received a benefit from the tax cuts.
Okay, we'll take one from the floor, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir, for being here and for representing us, and to your staff. I knew how hard you all work, so we really appreciate you being here. I'm not a good speaker, so I'm going to read a little bit. Well, first let me say I am a constituent. I'm also a small business owner, so I've created a lot of jobs, hundreds of jobs in this district, and I'm proud to be here. Recently, the 4th National Climate Assessment, a congressionally mandated report was released. The federal report finds climate change is affecting the national environment, agriculture, energy production and use, land and water resources, transportation, and human health and welfare across the U.S. and its territories. The Bipartisan Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act of 2019, H.R. 763, was recently introduced. This is a bipartisan act. Scientists and economists alike believe that this solution will drive down America's carbon pollution and bring climate change under control while unleashing American technology, innovation, and ingenuity and creating jobs. You say that you listen to the district. There is a Yale Climate Opinion Maps report that anyone in the United States can participate in, but these people in this district have definitely participated in it, and that says we overwhelmingly are concerned about climate change. It's not Republican, it's not Democratic. We are overwhelmingly, your district. All with respect in my heart, you support this bipartisan act.
I'll take a look at it and we will report back to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Our children and our grandchildren
audience, and I'm pretty sure you've met more people that want you dead than I met that want me dead in the whole 6 years. Well, I appreciate you coming out here. But part of that service was standing for the Constitution, and I served during a time when...
Excuse me. Shh. Please. Sorry.
When our island ascendant was somebody who ran secret courts that had secret police that would manufacture evidence against people just to control them. And when I look at the revelations that have come out, I see that in our own FBI, it worries me. I want to know what Washington is going to do to hold these men accountable to the same laws that they violated that they're using to prosecute patriots like General Flynn.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. Appreciate it very much. This is the debate we have going on now. You've got the Mueller probe, you've got McCabe, you've got all this conversation going on. And the truth of the matter is there's been no proof of any of this, of the accusations. And I think the American people are getting tired of all this sort of things.
Excuse me.
But people need to be held accountable, so let the system work. And that's what makes this country what it is because people, if they get accused of something, they have the day in court, they're able to state their beliefs. But I think a lot of the things we see on TV right now are people are pretty much ready for them to stop. And the people that are not telling the truth and the people that are accusing, if they're not right, they should be held accountable. We need to do that.
We have FBI officials
right.
that the internal IG report showed that they have lied to Congress and lied to the FBI. We're prosecuting the patriots, and they're going away free.
Excuse me. We're not going to do this. I'm not going to say it again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. What are you doing to make sure all Texans have affordable, quality health care? And health care has not been a big focus recently. Are you still pushing for the repeal of Obamacare?
Okay. First of all, that's a great question. And first of all, let me tell of you, I have a pre-existing condition. Okay? So I believe that people... I'm sorry? I'm a cancer survivor. And I'm proud of it. But at the same time, and I do believe that nobody should be penalized for pre-existing conditions, okay? I mean, there's people different, but that's what I do believe, though, I believe what health care should look like. I believe individuals should own their own health care. I just don't believe the federal government should own your health care. I don't believe that the person you work for should own your own health care. I think individuals need to own their own health care. And I think you need to be able to shop across state lines to let these insurance companies compete for you. When you have more competition, you bring services go up, prices go down. That's just the way it is. You should be able to make it tax deductible. You should be able to deduct it from your taxes. You should be portable. If you have a job or you lose your job or you retire, you should be able to carry your policy with you rather than having to get on COBRA, which is very, very expensive, okay? That's what I think healthcare should look like. As far as Obamacare, I mean, we still have Obamacare. 92% of the people that have healthcare get it through their employer. I'm an employer and I supply healthcare for my employees. But 92% get through the healthcare. The tax cuts, the Job Act and the tax cuts did away with a portion of Obamacare, which was the individual mandate where it said you do not have to have insurance. The corporate mandate is still there where you employ people, you still have to have health care. So, but what I want to do quite simply is let individuals own their own health care and let you decide what you want. I mean, every plan's different. I may want a higher deductible, you may want a lower deductible. You may want this, I may not want that. And let these people bid on you, these insurance companies, and drive these prices down to have it easier access for people to get health care.
From the audience, yes, sir.
Okay, Roger, thanks for coming. I'm from East Austin. Did I miss you? My question is kind of a follow-up on healthcare. It's more a concern because people are not cars. People are not seeking. I had this as a submitted question. I'm going to get to it.
Go ahead.
You talk about the individual mandate, but one thing you never mentioned is the unfunded mandate that Reagan came up with that demands that everybody who goes into an emergency room shall not be denied care despite their ability to pay for it. What that does is it dumps a lot of costs, ER costs, which are hugely expensive. The resources for ERs is just crazy. It dumps it onto our local property taxpayers. You know, the free market is not going to work for people who have pre-existing conditions. The free market is not going to compete for people who have cystic fibrosis. The free market is not going to compete across state lines and somehow magically drive down the price for somebody who does have cancer. So my question is to you is, at what point will the free market have limitations in your philosophy?
Well, I mean, but we're kind of saying the same thing. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, like you say, the hospitals write off a tremendous amount of dollars each year, don't they?
It's ridiculous.
Because it's not paid for, and they have to pass it on to us, right?
That's right.
So how do we fix that? And that's basically your question.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had this thought one time is that, and I really haven't gone in depth to it, but say you pay $10 for your premium, okay? And maybe there's another $1 added to it to help offset these costs. You follow me? Maybe it's another pool of money or something that those that...
High risk pool?
Huh?
High risk pool?
Something like that, you know, to where people can draw on that or somehow we can recoup some of the funds. Of course, at the end of the day, we're saying you're paying for it in your premium, right? But I don't know. I mean, it's a tremendous problem with the hospitals. And, of course, in Texas, you could say maybe that's part of the reason property taxes are high. I don't know. But I think it's something we need to fix and work out. I don't have the answer to that, you know, because we are a compassionate nation, and when people come into emergency room, they do get health care.
I mean, you voted against the Affordable Care Act at least 50 times while you were in Congress.
Well, but that doesn't address that. We should not be in a position where the federal government tells you have to buy something. That's not America. That's not America.
Back to the list. Why are we still dealing with so much government overreach, particularly as it pertains to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, USDA, and Parks and Wildlife and private industries? I guess we're talking about government regulation.
Well, there's a lot of departments involved in that one. But again, government regulations. I'm kind of a less regulation guy. You remember what I said? Is that I'd like our government to do three things: collect my taxes, defend my borders, and help me with infrastructure, and kind of get out of the way. And you know, so the more regulations we pile on the people and so forth, I think the worse that is.
Excuse me.
Well, regulations do give protections, but sometimes we've got a history of over-regulating, and we got to be very careful with that.
One from the audience, sir.
Yes. How do you feel about your district? In the district lines, I've noticed that during the campaign you were at Black's Barbecue over on Martin Springs. Incorrectly identified that as being in your district. So I just wonder what do you think of the district lines? I know they're drawn in Texas, and it sure appears that they're gerrymandered to benefit you.
Well, from a gerrymandering standpoint, you need to talk to your state representatives.
I'm just asking how you feel about your district lines.
Well, I think it's a shame we just can't make a bunch of squares. But when you're dealing with 800,000 people, you draw the lines. But if you want to talk about gerrymandering, you can go back in the history of this country. Both parties are guilty of that.
Sure.
I mean, it's not, you know. So the fact of the matter is, you got to find 800,000 people in a congressional district. And you know, Texas is growing so much, we very well could have 4 more districts in 2022 because of the growth. So the districts are drawn by your state legislature. So that's not a question. I mean, I can't answer. I run a district.
Your state representative is Phil King.
Excuse me,
sir,
no.
No dialogue?
Okay, no.
Well,
he can do something.
Sir, we're not getting into a back-to-back, right? No back and forth. We're going to keep it civil.
That's bad. Really bad.
Excuse me.
State representative.
Excuse me, sir. That goes for you too. Please.
We're just asking questions.
Now, we're trying to respect everyone And I'm asking you to do the same. Thank you. Next question on the list. We're almost through with the list, and we can open it up for what time's left. Socialism has been at the top of the news recently, especially now that Bernie Sanders has announced he is running. How do you plan to keep socialistic policies from passing in Congress?
Well, I think we have to be very careful, and I think it's part of the debate we're going to have. I mean, some people are going to believe that government knows better how to deal with the people than the people know to deal with the people. Socialism does not work. We can look at history on that. I think that on the Democratic side, there are a few people talking about socialism. I still don't believe in my heart that the majority of the people on the Democrats believe socialism is the way to go. But I, for one, am a capitalist. I believe in free markets. I believe in open markets. I believe in competition. Okay? I believe in taking risk and getting reward. That's what built this country. And I don't have any problem if somebody has more money than I have or whatever. That doesn't bother me. Okay? But we've got to have the debate, socialism versus capitalism. What concerned me was in the State of the Union address the other night when President Trump made the comment that the United States will not be a socialistic nation, that nobody on the other side stood up to applaud him. And that bothers me somewhat, okay? But I don't believe on either side there's more that think we should go socialism and capitalism, but any of those that think we should go socialism, I'm going to be in the middle of the debate to show that it will not work. Look, in real time, look at Venezuela, look at Cuba, prime examples.
Look at Europe.
The last question I have here, and then whatever time left, we'll open it up. As a member of the Powerful Financial Services Committee, what efforts will the committee take to address flood mitigation in Texas? Efforts in Texas.
That's a great question. We really, they use this term up in Washington, kick the can down the road, and I hate it. I hate to hear that term, but we've done that with the flood issues. And that's the bill, one of the bills that Charlie Christ and I have that's going to start going through committee is to a 5-year, I think it's a 5 or 6 year flood program that that insurance companies can count on and people can count on. And we've got to find a way to quit writing flood insurance on homes that flood 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times and keep paying them for that. So that's an issue we've got to address, and that'll be in my committee. I'll be working with my colleagues on the other side to get a flood program that is a real program and not something we just kick the can down the road for 90 days at a time.
Okay. In the back. Ma'am.
My dad used to insure your family car business.
I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
I said my dad used to insure your company car dealership.
Who's your dad?
Donald O'Malley with Lynn
Uh-huh.
And he's quite a golfer. And I'm sure people here today who want to know what it's like playing golf with President Trump.
Well, are you a constituent of 25?
Ma'am, sir, hey.
Yes, I am.
Where do you live?
So, excuse me. Not again, please. You're not the moderator, please. Congressman.
Well, playing golf with President Trump, you play fast. You have no chance of winning. You get a lot of conversation taken care of. I played golf with President Bush and I played golf with President Ford, and all three of them are different. But it's fast. It's not a 4-hour event when you play golf with President Trump.
Ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your being here. I lived in Northwest Austin and I was your constituent, and now I live in East Austin and I'm still your constituent. And I think that gerrymandering is a problem because I don't think we're represented properly when we're also represented, when you also represent Cleburne and other parts of the district. That's not my question, I'm just throwing that out there. So you said that we already have pathway to citizenship in the country. We don't disagree on that. You also said that the Bible guides you in your decision making and your philosophy. How do those two facts work to support your position on DACA recipients who are undocumented citizens and do not have a pathway to citizenship as it stands right now?
Well, that's a good question. And I'm not against DACA recipients.
You would believe that they deserve a pathway to citizenship?
So here's where I am on DACA recipients, okay? Is that I think that most of them had no decision on getting over here and so forth, okay? Right. And we certainly those, and I'm not one of them, said you got to take them all back. You can't take them all back. We're not going to do that. So what we need to do, and is we need to make sure they understand that we're not going to, they can go to work, they can go to school, whatever, we're not going to make them go back, okay? I think it's time to begin to allow them to work and pay taxes and do all that sort of thing, realize the American dream, okay?
Right.
But I also think that when you, and always in this conversation is you always talk about a pathway to citizenship, not you, but people talk about a pathway to citizenship. We don't need, the worst thing you can do for a DACA recipient, okay, is to create another pathway to citizenship. Because then they're going to be looked at even, in many cases, worse.
So let's just make them
Okay.
citizens. Just
Well, you can't do
sign
that.
something.
You can't do that. We have a pathway to citizenship. If they want to be citizens, there's a way. Go get in line.
But they're undocumented, so therefore they can't get in that line.
Well, but if we pass legislation that if they want to be a citizen, they get in line. My mother-in-law's from Germany, and
So
she.
do you support that? Do you support legislation that would give the DACA recipients a way to get in line?
President Trump has already said that he would, I think, what was 1.8 million DACA recipients. He would work with them to begin to get that process going.
So
and the Democrats were like at 600,000 or 700,000. So we need to take these young men and women, okay, and give and let them realize the American dream and work with them on a way that allows them to be like everybody else and go through the citizenship if they want to do that. That's very simple.
Ma'am, let's let someone else ask the question. I think he answered that one. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm bad at public speaking, so I'm going to read off my phone too. I'm a 19-year-old student at UT Austin. I've been a constituent here since the day you were elected to office. I lived just north of Steiner Ranch. I grew up there. My generation has grown up bearing witness to an alarming increase in deaths and injuries related to gun violence in America. Everywhere I go, whether it be to class, a movie, or anywhere really, I always look for places to hide in case an active shooter situation arises. 25 years ago, the U.S. Congress passed a law requiring background checks on licensed gun sales. However, current law allows criminals, domestic abusers, and people involuntarily committed due to mental health to avoid the very background checks designed to block them from getting guns by simply buying them from unlicensed sellers. Some of your colleagues recently introduced H.R. 8, a bipartisan bill that would require a background check to be performed on all gun sales, getting rid of the loophole mentioned above. I believe one can support laws to deter senseless gun violence, all while supporting and protecting the Second Amendment. As a student of a university that legally allows for concealed carry on its property, I want to know that anyone on my campus who may be carrying a firearm is fit to use it responsibly. Background checks do not infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens. They save lives and protect communities. To protect your constituents at UT Austin and in all of Texas 25, will you support H.R. 8 on the House floor?
All right. I will not support H.R. 8 as it's written, okay? I believe in the Second Amendment, but we have background checks now.
No.
And look, when you buy a gun, there's a background check. Now, what you're probably talking about is when you go from one person, say a private sale to another, there is not a background check. Okay, that's probably what you're talking about.
Yes.
But let me tell you, I think this whole gun debate is a lot of it is, and you mentioned it, is driven by the mental health issue, and we need to reach out to these folks that have issues. They need to understand that there is help available to them. I speak from a little different viewpoint than most on this, is that I have been shot. I have had someone try to kill me, and it's hard to talk about. But I was shot twice in my leg here, and so forth. But I don't believe that you take guns away from the good people, because the bad people will always have the guns, no matter what legislation. See, so I'm not going to support H.R. 8, okay? But we just have to be careful. There's a lot.
Excuse me.
So that's to answer your question, okay?
One more short question, sir.
Congressman, I did support you.
Thank you.
Do you support building the wall?
Okay. I support building the wall, and I will tell you this. It is a serious problem we have. I mean, if any of you have been to the border, you know what I'm talking about. We have people coming over here who don't want to do it the right way. What I support and have supported for a long, long time is I want 5,000 more Border Patrol on the border. I think when you have people doing business with people, that is really the best way. Okay, we need 5,000 more Border Patrol. Technology, yes. I mean, what all that is, there's technology that none of us understand, but it's out there. Increase the size of the ports of entry, make them readily available. And brick and mortar when it's needed. I mean, so that is border security. We have to secure the border. We all took an oath to do this. And if we get people to come through the ports of entry, do it the right way, here there are somebody mentioned asylum, here there are asylum cases, here there are issues, get them situated right. That's what we need to do. But we have to support the border. When you have people at the border throwing rocks at your border patrol, burning your flag, and wanting to come into your country, there's a lot of going on. And you've got drug dealers down here. We got people selling drugs up here to our kids who are destroying generations. We have to secure the border, and that's a normal thing to do. And so I do support border barriers, border security. I support the wall, more border patrol, better ports of entry to make it more accessible. And that is a program that we need to get on and get on as soon as we can.
One more quick one.
Sir. Congressman, thank you. You co-sponsored HR 392 in the last Congress. That was Fairness for High Skilled Immigrants Act. It has been reintroduced in the 116th Congress as HR 1044. I've had some conversations with, I saw Aaron there. Do you support HR 1044?
Well, we supported it last time.
Yes.
If it's the same bill,
it's the same bill.
Anything that will help workers better themselves, learn another trade or whatever. We're certainly for that's what we've had a lot of dialogue about. Is there's jobs available too? What a great time to learn a trade and upgrade yourself. So we would certainly support that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're out of time. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate the Congressman being here.
Mayor, thank you very much.